Billboard Philippines Volumes.
On this episode of Billboard Philippines Volumes, we got our Executive of the Year awardee for Billboard Philippines Women in Music, Sony Music Philippines General Manager Roslyn Pineda. We find out what her first memory with music is, challenges in heading a record label, and a lot more. Let's turn up the volume on Roslyn Pineda.
Billboard Philippines Volumes.
Yes, welcome to Billboard Philippines Volumes, where we turn up the volume on your favorite artist stories. But today is a very special day. It's a bit different. We are celebrating women in music, and not only women in music, but this is the executive edition. And today we have a very special guest. She is the general manager of Sony Music Philippines. The fans know her as Mama Sony. We are with our Executive of the Year for Women in Music 2020-25, Miss Roslyn Pineda.
Hi, Brett. Thank you so much for having me. I was telling you earlier, it's so weird to be in front of the camera. And normally I'm behind the camera trying to see if my artists look good, if my artists sound good. So this is a definitely unique experience. Thank you.
We are so appreciative of the work that you do, the dedication that you have for Filipino music. You look amazing today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, on this podcast, we usually like to start kind of like take things back for a second. So we'll start there. One of the questions that we usually put out is, what is one of your first memories with music? Yes, let's start
Okay,
there.
So I grew up really loving menudo.
Okay, yes.
That dates me, I
Yes,
know.
no.
But do you even know
Of
menudo?
course,
Okay,
classic. We
so
love, yes.
I would watch Betamax tapes
Yep, yep.
of menudo live in concert. I'd dance to their music. I'd sing to their music. And one day, my mom said, I'm going to take you to your first concert.
Wow.
But I didn't know what a concert was.
Yep.
So I went there thinking I'd actually meet them.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in my nicest dress. It was like a gown. I think it was, I can't remember, either folk arts theater or Araneta Coliseum.
Yeah.
I think folk arts. But in any case, when I got there, I didn't expect to be so far
Yeah.
from the stage. So menudo was like this small.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how are they gonna see me
Yeah.
in my gown?
gown.
Right? And then Lea Salonga did a duet
Oh.
with one of them. I think it was Charlie. And I was so inget. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, why does she get to be, you know, there beside them?
Yes.
So that's one of my first memories of music. And the funny thing is, I actually had to work very closely with Ricky Martin
Okay. Yes.
in my career. And I had to ride a helicopter with Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like pinching myself because I'm in front of this guy, right, who I've idolized since I was little. But of course, the chopper was too noisy.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like we could really talk. Lo and behold, on our way back from Macau, we couldn't ride the chopper because of visibility.
Okay.
So we had to take the ferry. And we took a private room in the ferry. So I had all this time to talk to Ricky Martin.
Yes.
And of course, I told him about the experience.
Yeah.
And then he was laughing so hard because I was like, little did I know. So, Ricky, you don't understand. This is like a dream come true.
Yeah.
And it literally was,
Mhm.
right? And then he says to me, you remind me of this Filipina friend of mine. I'm like, okay. You
Ricky just
Filipina
has
friend?
casual Filipino
Right, right.
friends.
You remind me, right? And then I was like, who?
Yeah.
He said, Lea Salonga,
Oh my
who happens to be
God.
a Sony Music artist in our
Yes.
catalog as well, who I know as well and who's a friend.
Full
So
circle.
it's just really those, those things na I have to pinch myself
Yep.
sometimes. I did also meet, because Ricky was not my bias.
Okay.
It was Robbie Rosa.
Okay.
And he was also a Sony music artist
Mm.
under Robbie Draco Rosa. Fantastic songwriter. So
Yep.
I went to London and I met him. I didn't have the chance to tell him the story, but at least I got to tell Ricky, who was my second bias.
Amazing. Amazing. You know, the industry, though the Filipino music industry has been evolving and changing so much, especially as of late. We've met with so many artists, we've talked to so many people that work in the industry, and the thing that we keep hearing is that this is a new golden age for OPM and Filipino music. Now, having seen a lot of what has happened in the industry since the start of your career, what can you say about where we're at now? What can we be excited about?
Brett, I'm serious when I say it's never been this exciting. Um, I first entered this industry eons ago.
Yeah.
I've grown up in this
Mm-hmm.
industry. But when I first entered it, it was 80% international music.
80%.
80, 20% local, right? And even myself, right?
Yep.
I was into international artists.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was just the thing
Mm-hmm.
back then, right? So fast forward to today, where we see 60% international, sometimes 50-50, sometimes more if you look
Wow.
at the charts,
Wow. Yes, no.
right? Look at the Billboard charts. It's actually more than that.
It's more than that.
It's more than that.
This
And it,
week, 7 over 10.
see, so
Exactly.
you do the count as well,
Yes.
right?
Every week.
7/10. And who would have thought?
Yes.
Because before, the mentality was our local artists can never measure up to the international ones. We can
That
never be as good,
that
right?
was yes.
That was.
That
Just
was
realistically
was.
speaking,
Yes.
was. So now that I'm doing what I do, it's like it couldn't be more perfectly timed
Yep.
that you can actually have this kind of impact on the music industry with local artists. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they start making a name for themselves outside of the Philippines, you just think of the possibilities of
Yeah.
where this can go.
Yes.
Tumataas balahibo ko. But that's the dream. That's the dream, and it's never been so close.
Close.
We could, it could happen any day now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's why I say it's never been as exciting. It's exhilarating. I've always been grateful to be in
Mm-hmm.
this industry, but never more so than now.
I believe that with every part of me, and I know the team does, and I know that the industry is in such a beautiful place right now. One thing I'd like to say is that there's been many times where the industry has had booms. Let's talk about the rise of OPM, the alternative boom, and then we went through a period where I know exactly what you're talking about, where it was just very like, okay, international is ruling, we're pushing out local, we're doing mostly covers. This is what's happening. Then we reach this social media age. There's so much access, and when I say access, it's across so many different people in the whole Philippines. Everyone has access to all types of music at their fingertips, pero they're making the choice of Filipino music. And you have artists like TJ, Cup of Joe, Arthur Neri, Beanie, SB19 selling out arenas. And these are young artists. They're not just selling out arenas, they're selling out world tours. Now, one of the biggest artists, if not the biggest artist right now in Sony, SB19. They are going to Philippine Arena, and it sold out in 7 hours.
Less than 7.
Less than 7 hours. Mama Sony,
I
thank you
will
for
be
that one.
precise.
I love that. How does this make you feel? And what does this tell you about that dream or the future that you see for Filipino music?
much as I believe in my artists, much as I'm such a huge fan of my own artists, syempre there's still that trepidation,
Yep.
right? Because you'll never know.
Yeah.
You'll never know. In this industry, you'll never know.
Yeah.
So we were watching it carefully. And then a few minutes before, I was texting with management,
Mm-hmm.
1Z, and I was like, oh, how's it looking like? And they could see how many people were waiting in line.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I think we can do this,
Yep.
right? At the very least, sell out the thing. I never even asked that, oh, can we sell out in this number of hours? Because again, it's never been done.
It's never
right?
been done.
It has for international artists, as expected, but this one was almost like a gamble.
Yeah.
So when I found out that it was less than 7 hours, I was almost in tears. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's like, wow, you guys have done it, right? And of course, so deserving, right?
Of
But again,
course.
I can't even tell you that despite all my confidence in my artist, I couldn't tell you that that was going to happen.
Yes. Exactly.
So, how nice. How nice to see it happen. Um, yeah, so now the pressure's on to put on a good show, right?
There's no pressure there.
but yeah, they'll do it.
No, of
They'll do it.
course.
But it's moments like that.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess you'll never forget your first
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. So that's something we'll remember for a long
The
time.
thing is when you speak about your artists and you speak about these achievements, and I can see it wholeheartedly in you how proud you are of them and how much you care for them. And I think that it's nice to see it, especially within someone from such a giant major label. Um, I would say that major labels in the Philippines haven't always had the best imagery towards the public or maybe towards artists, um, for different reasons. I mean, there's a lot of learning that I think artists and people in the industry need to fully understand as well about what is going on in our industry to fully grasp everything that's happening. But I feel like major labels are also evolving and doing new things to support artists in new ways. Now, can we get into that a little bit? Now that we're in this new age of total opium consumption, total support for OPM, how are major labels today like Sony supporting their artists and helping them achieve dreams like selling out Philippine Arena?
So you're right. Pop culture today, especially when I reopened Sony Music Philippines in 2019,
Wow.
those were the days when there were so many movies about music.
Yeah.
And in every single one of those, the bad guy or
Yeah.
one of the big bad guys was the record label person,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't even matter which label, right?
Yeah.
But obviously it's a major
Yeah.
because he's
They
an
just put that
international
word
artist.
major.
Yeah. So it was very hard. It was
Yeah.
very hard to come back into the market and start talking to local artists
Mm-hmm.
because that is the image that pop culture portrays.
Yeah.
Right? And we had been gone for a while. So again, there was that question. I think, though, that the artists see through your sincerity when
That's
you
true.
talk to them, right? Because kahit paano, we have the resources to be able to back you up,
Yes.
right? We have the global network where if you suddenly explode in a place like Indonesia
Yes.
or Brazil or the US, which is
Mm-hmm.
such a tough market, we're ready, right?
Exactly.
It won't be difficult. It just needs a little bit of flag waving on
Yeah.
my end.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never had a problem with that. I'm always like, I'm here. My artists are here. If you need anything from the Philippines.
Yep.
And this has coincided with the growth of the Philippine music industry as a whole.
Yes.
Right? So we talk about OPM and the growth. But also, even for international artists, the Philippines is considered a trigger market.
Yes. We talk about this all the time. Continue.
So spotlight, right? Spotlight. I mean, I've represented Asia in so many conferences internally. Spotlight on Asia.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I was asked about China, of course. That was the most fascinating
Okay.
place for them. Sometime in about 2017, because, for example, Spotify launched in the Philippines in 2014.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I did say that once you give Filipinos access to free music,
It's on.
right? It's on, man. We can be as big a market as any market out there because of
truth.
just our genuine love for music.
Music. Yeah.
So yeah, around 2017 they started asking us, my international counterparts would like call me and say, Roslyn, where is Quezon City? And
I'm also wondering.
why are we getting so many streams from such and such artists
Yes.
in that market?
Yeah.
We didn't even know that people knew of this artist. And all of a sudden, the Philippines is streaming so much. Yeah, so we had moments like that. And then later on, a couple of years later, they're like, what is Hugh got? And I'm just like, well, this is what it means. But I guess my point is spotlight on Asia,
Yeah.
spotlight on Southeast Asia. I'm really feeling that
True.
in recent years. And why not? Right? Why not spotlight on the Philippines? Because it's such a rich country when it comes to music and love for music, both international and local, which serves it well, right? So it's definitely on the radar of artists and music executives worldwide. Why not take advantage of that? And I tell that to my artists all the time, right? It takes one song, and the song in this digital era can come from anywhere in the world.
Exactly.
Even our bosses believe that. So I think, as you said earlier, the industry is ever changing. If the record labels, if the majors want to survive, we also have to be ever changing.
Yeah.
Right? We can't be left behind and say, oh, this is what we have to do because this is how it's always been done. Well, the market is going in this direction, and you have to be led by the market. You have to be led by the music lovers, by the music fans. This is the
Yes.
kind of music they want to listen to. This is the kind of artist they want to support. Right? So yeah, I do tell all these things to my artists, and it's really a different experience because I always say that, I used to do marketing
Yeah.
for the region before. Marketing is basically you're asking consumers for a few minutes of their time to listen to your track, right?
I love that. Yes.
And then I got moved to business development because they said, oh, she's good at making money, making deals, right? And so I go to the brands and I go to the clients and I'm asking them for their budgets,
Yes.
which they're happy to put behind music because they know how excited their consumers get when it comes to music,
Of course.
right? But when it comes to signing artists, that's a different thing.
Okay.
It's not few minutes of your time. It's not your company's budget. It's literally your career.
Yeah.
Are you going to put your career in this person's hands?
Wow. Yes.
So that is what in the evolution of my professional career, that's what I've come to. Na, you could go with anyone. I'm talking to artists who have gotten to a point where they can go to any label they want to go to because
Yes.
all the labels want them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really that. It's like, trust me, I'll do my best for you. I'll make sure this company that I've been with for so long does its best for you.
Exactly.
So it's worked for some artists. Not all, but for the artists that I do have, my team and I really just make it a point to make sure that we're worthy of that trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my deputy general manager, Maan Atienza,
Yes.
she takes care of the team, and she also is so good with the artists in terms of like day to day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm the one where I sit in Hong Kong, just always waving the OPM flag.
Wow.
Um, and I do try to get people's attention. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But when I don't, I'm like, babalikan kita.
Wait for it.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, just the recent example of like SB19,
Yes.
they were at number 8 with Gento in the world digital charts of
Yes.
Billboard.
Yes.
And
And
then,
today,
yeah, they made it to number 1.
number one.
Like, number 8 was, we were happy enough with that.
Who can like a number eight's
Right.
already
I
amazing
know. And it pushed, they actually, it's not like a Filipino chart. It's a chart where you're up against all the biggest artists in the
in the
world,
world.
right? And they pushed out certain artists from number 1.
Yep.
So yeah, the pride and all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, bending over backwards, tumbling, whatever it takes becomes worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for all other artists, not just SB19,
Yeah.
right? Every single day there are different milestones for different artists.
That's the truth.
So yeah, as long as we're able to, sometimes you're big na and then you come to us. What can you do for us? I'll bring you to the next level. And that goes for anyone, right? That goes for anyone, big, medium, small,
Yeah.
right? It's just taking you to greater heights.
Yes.
Next level.
We love that, and there's so many points that we can take from what you just said. Some of the things that I really loved with what you just said is that saying, how do we cater to the music fans, the music lovers, and the people that are really consuming this? And that's so important because putting them first is such a beautiful way to look at things. Because really, why else? Why else do we even do this? Um, Having your artists as well, being so transparent with them, and just being able to say every day, with all our experience and all of our connections and anything that we can do, we will do to get you to the next step in your career. And I think we do have to look at the artist as well and say, okay, what is your goals? What do you want to achieve? And if it is that global success in multiple territories, we know that Philippines is a trigger market. If you match these two things together, we are going to have more and more global artists. And when I say global artists, we're talking about artists that are right up there with the rest of the world. I think we throw around the word global a lot, but we're talking about top 10 artists in the world coming from the Philippines. And we're so close to that. The numbers are rising every day for songs. The people from different countries are consuming Filipino music and accepting Tagalog. We're living in a beautiful time and it's a different time. Ah, I guess my next question would be, with everything good that's happening, what are some of the challenges that you are foreseeing or are happening right now that maybe we can also discuss or try to think, okay, what's the next move here?
There's still a glass ceiling, so to speak, for Asian artists. And you can say, oh, K-pop has shattered that. But actually not necessarily so.
Yeah,
Because there's a hierarchy also
there still is. Yeah,
within the Asian nationalities or races,
yeah,
right? So now they've accepted K-pop as being up there.
yeah.
But are they ready? Are they ready for the next big thing?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my Indian colleagues will say it's I-pop,
Okay,
right?
yes.
I will say it's P-pop. Everyone wants it, right? It's
Yes.
not just like we're the only ones
Yeah,
who
definitely.
want to do
Mm-hmm.
this. Everybody has that dream. Um, so it's really being able to find a way to connect with fans
Yes.
outside of Filipino fans,
Yes.
outside of the diaspora.
Yes.
Right? And like you said, we're starting to see that. Like one fan commented when we had I think it was the Dam music video that Sony Music Korea put Korean lyrics to, or Korean translations
That's
to.
awesome.
Right?
Yes.
Like, wow, before it used to be us translating their Korean music to English.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have to try and understand our language. So it has to hit them in such a way that they'll forget that it's Tagalog.
Yeah.
Um, we'll get there,
Mm-hmm.
but we haven't gotten there yet. So it's how to get there when everybody is clamoring for that attention.
Yes.
And there's an insane number of new releases every single day.
If people
Right? So
really
how
knew
do you, right?
that number.
It's crazy. So how do you stand out, right?
Oh.
How do you capture their imagination? And there was a time people were like, "Oh, magaling yan mag-English. Yan ang pakantahin mo, di ba?
Yes.
Tapos kailangan English yung kanta kasi
Oo.
otherwise hindi nila maintindihan." That's what I think Filipinos thought was their edge.
Yes.
Because, magaling tayo mag-English
Yep.
compared to our neighboring countries, di ba? Di tayo na yan. But yun nga even K-pop didn't do it by singing in English.
Yeah.
Because what would distinguish you from the international artists
That's
singing
it.
English, right? How would you know? So, I really, hats off to the artists who have that dream of making it international, but still decide, I'm gonna sing in Tagalog.
Yes.
Or partially in Tagalog.
Mhm.
Because if you think about it, this is what makes them different.
Yes. Exactly.
So, so someone said it within Sony, and I keep saying it because it doesn't make sense, but it actually does. It is basically go hyper local
Mm-hmm.
in order to go international.
That's it.
You have to be proud of where you come from, your identity, and if that's part of the artist proposition, then it is, right? And we're seeing it, like when I watch concerts of my artists in other countries, like Mori was in
Yes.
Clock and
She's
Flap,
traveling
right?
around.
She
We
was
love
in
it.
Clock and Flap, and Audrey and I were just, look at this, that we were looking around. There were barely any Filipinos.
Yes.
Mostly locals
Mhm.
in Hong Kong. Expats, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Japanese people
Mhm.
who went wild when she started singing her song in Japanese. But yeah, it could be any moment, any song. We don't know when that will be because there are so many challenges. But we just have to be prepared,
Yes.
I guess.
There it is.
And maybe the last thing is that there still are some Filipino people who don't think that our music measures up
Mm-hmm.
to international artists. So I see that as a challenge, but it's a good challenge because little by little I see, new fans being converted. And yeah, it's one fan every day, and it actually makes me happier when it's a Filipino fan
Mm-hmm.
who was never into OPM.
Yep.
And then they say, "Hey, these guys are good." I didn't expect to be so impressed
Yep.
by their music video. Was that even done in the Philippines? So it's, when I have the chance to answer yes, 100% done in the Philippines, because it's not just the artists that are leveling up, it's the creative community
Yep.
leveling up. So the more the Filipino creative community rallies behind our local artists, I think we'll have a better chance. Because it's not easy. And we're not the only ones who want it. But yeah, it can be a reality. Very, very possible.
It's so clear, and one of the terms you keep using is waving and raising the flag. It's so true because you have the artists who are pushing Filipino music with language and with what they put inside the music, the visuals, and everything. This is who we are. This is what makes us different. You have the industry side, which is okay, we're waving the flag in every way that we can as well, using our connections to go global, to build better industries, to build better everything surrounding the music. Then you have the creative community as well that says, okay, how do we do the same thing in our own way? So coming together, as much as corny as it may sound, coming together, doing this together, being on the same wavelength of let's push what is truly happening here in the Philippines. Let's choose Filipino music. Let's choose our nation. Let's choose the music that represents us, is our road to the next level for everyone. And that's amazing. Uh it's a it's a challenge, but at the same time it's just something that we're going for anyway. So it doesn't even really seem like too much of a challenge. It's just a matter of time at this point.
True, true,
We love it.
true. One of my artists, I'll say who, the twins of Ben and Ben,
Yes.
Paolo and Miguel. We have these long conversations about life in general. And at some point, I think I remember when they went to Clock and Flap,
Mm-mm.
and I took the twins out to buy something. And then we had dinner. And then I was just explaining about how explosive the local music scene was becoming. And Paula said, "Yeah, Miss Ross, it's a movement."
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree with that. It's not about one artist. So if an artist does fling the doors open for us, it's great for that artist, but great for the entire nation and the rest of
Yes.
the artists to follow. Because they like saying it a lot in Hollywood, right? I may be the first, but definitely not the last. So so yeah, the more this is a movement, the more chances we have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just gonna be about one artist, it's gonna be about Filipino music as a whole. So, diba? G? Game na. I really have to say, Billboard coming into the Philippines, I don't think I ever told you this, but when I'm always justifying and arguing that the Philippines is where, we should invest in more,
Mm-hmm.
etc., etc., I actually say, and do you know that Billboard has actually launched in the Philippines um, in 2023,
Mm-mm.
in October of 2023. So that gives you an idea that the local music scene is indeed becoming more exciting.
Exactly.
Because why would they launch in a country where it's not getting hotter, right? In
Yes.
terms of excitement. So I do mention Billboard
Thank
because
you.
that is a reason, right? You
Yes.
wouldn't you wouldn't launch in a
Mm-mm.
place where there's no excitement
Mm-hmm.
and hope,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so much creative excellence. So yeah, I do use you as an example because I, having been in the industry for so long, I remember I would get that weekly, right?
Yes.
That's our Bible. We need
Yes.
to look at that. And those were the days I was working international
Mm-hmm.
artists into Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So how the world turns, that now I'm looking at it, and it's a it's Billboard Philippines, and I'm looking at it because of Philippine artists, not just international artists.
You know, when we did launch the charts last year, one of the things that we made a point is that, for artists, we never want them to feel that numbers should dictate their art. But what we can take from the numbers is the fact that people every day are choosing Filipino music. And when we look at the charts every week, we get more and more excited to see that on our Hot 100 list, which contains both local and international acts, it's mostly Filipino music that is
Yeah.
across the board, not just across the number of 1 to 100, but populating the entire top 10. And when we talk about the top 10, we're talking about across every streaming platform as well. So the numbers don't lie of the truth that is happening right now, and it's an exciting time. We are so happy to be here as Billboard, but at the same time, we are so happy to see companies like Sony thriving. We're excited to see artists in the industry thriving. We're excited to see the industry thriving because, again, it goes back to what you said earlier. This is a movement. This is us coming together. And if we want to go global, we need to start hyper local. And I think that's something that we can take away from this conversation. I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time and thank you for your contribution to the Filipino music industry. We are so excited for all of your artists. We are so excited for what's next, and this is a new beginning. I guess to close this out, would you have anything you'd like to say, maybe to artists, to the industry, or maybe a prediction even for where you think things will be maybe next year or sooner than that?
The industry has definitely changed so much
Mm-hmm.
since I've entered it. And I used to be a performer myself. So,
Yes. I've heard from your interview.
yes, yes. So it's so exciting that things have turned around in such a way that, and they say this a lot within Sony, and I'm glad to hear it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons I stay. We're now in a creator first economy. No longer is it, the days when companies would dictate
Yeah,
what people hear.
that's true.
Now you can upload your music from your bedroom and you could be an overnight sensation.
It's the truth.
But that kind of democratization makes things so exciting,
Mm-hmm.
keeps us record labels on our toes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's all good. This is
Yes.
how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to recognize that as the people behind the artists, that we wouldn't be anywhere without them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so glad to see that it is becoming a creator first economy. Slowly but surely, not entirely so. Um, I'm glad. I'm glad artists are able to call the shots.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that, like you said, numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And that in the Philippines, we actually have local artists who are reaching those numbers.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I've always thought that, this being in this business was living the dream. Because I got to meet all my idols, right? But now I'm even more grateful that I'm in this industry at this super exciting time.
Yes.
And thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the honor. This was actually so much more fun than I expected. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Brett. Thank you for everything that you and Billboard Philippines has done as well
Thank
for the
you.
Philippine music industry.
Thank you. Well, thank you to our Executive of the Year for Women in Music 2020-2025, Miss Roslyn Pineda. Thank you. This has been Billboard Philippines Volumes, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Billboard Philippines.